Welcome to the Farming Country podcast, airing the latest news, views and interviews from the heart of the Yorkshire Dales. I'm Ted Ogden from Craven Cattle Marts, and in today's episode...
We get a lot of racehorses and hunt horses and event horses. The gait of the horse when it's swimming, if it's kind of swimming straight and things like that.
We meet the Lancashire lass who's teaching farmers new ways to care for their livestock. There's nothing quite like the calm, peaceful scenery of the River Wharfe, but could there be troubled waters lurking beneath? Time to place your bets. We trot off to get the lowdown on the local harness racing highlight this weekend. So let's get cracking. Founded in 1991, the Northern Equine Therapy Centre was the first public equine pool facility in the north of England. CCM's Danielle Daggett heads off to the site in Rathmell for a head-to-head with the new manager, local equine massage therapist Diane Cornthwaite.
I've just taken on the Northern Equine Therapy Centre, which is a hydrotherapy unit that specialises in swimming horses in a circular pool. We take rehab horses as well as ones for fitness and general performance enhancing training. So we're taking on horses for swimming as well as therapy clients and also teaching owner courses from the facilities.
So when the horses are swimming and when they're in the pool, how do you keep a track of what's going on with their bodies?
So for the first time that they swim, we try to do a standard 2 laps 3 times, so they come in and then they go around, because it's a circular pool, we swim them both directions and it just gets them used to swimming both ways. Obviously the first time you go in they don't know quite what they're doing because horses don't swim naturally when they're on the livery yard or whatever, and we then look at the heart rate when they come out of the pool, and then we dry them off, towel them down, put them on the solarium, and about 10 minutes after we look at the heart rate again. So we're looking at the recovery rate of the horse's breathing and heart rate to see how hard it's worked, whether we need to work it harder, whether we've done too much, if you will. So it's just looking at how they recover that way. And then we look to build up the laps over time to improve the fitness, the muscle tone, the cardiovascular system, and work that harder. And it just depends on what the horse is here for as to how hard we're working them and what we're looking to improve.
And this kind of therapy can be used for all sorts, from a skeletal injury to muscle or weight loss, right?
Yeah. So because it's swimming, it's non-weight bearing exercise, and it's the only sort of non-weight bearing exercise that you can do. There are water treadmills, but they're obviously walking on the treadmill, so they're still weight bearing. That's more like resistance training. Right. So yeah, with the swimming pools, a lot of the things that we get through are leg injuries, because obviously they can be exercising as they're recovering without putting weight on the injury site. So it helps maintain the fitness. It also helps get weight off, because obviously if they're resting because they've got a foot injury or a leg injury, they'll then gain weight, so it kind of becomes a vicious cycle. But it is very good at improving cardiovascular fitness, so we get a lot of racehorses and hunt horses and event horses like that.
And how long have you had your company then, Pendle Animal Therapies?
I've been running Pendle Animal Therapies and treating horses for 4 years now.
And what made you get into the business? Have you always been around horses?
Yeah, so we have a family stud and I have horses of my own. I've ridden since I was 2 years old, and it got to the point I have quite a few horses now, and it was costing me a lot in physio fees, so I thought I'd train myself to save myself some money like a typical farmer. And then decided I really liked it and kind of wanted to make it a bit of a side business alongside working on the farm and the stud that we have as a family. And it's built up from there.
Can you expand a bit more on the agricultural animals there?
Yeah, so that came about when I qualified. We actually, whilst I was doing my training, we had a heifer that was down and she'd hurt a stifle, and I ended up physioing her and it got her up and she was away and she was absolutely fine. So I started discussing with Angela Hall, who runs Equine Massage Academy, where I qualified, about doing an agricultural course. So for the last 4 years I've been treating agricultural animals as well, either our own or ones that are like in the local area of people that had heard that I treat agricultural animals as well. And we've now developed and got accredited a course for cattle and also for sheep massage, and we're running it as a weekend-long course for agricultural animals, which is based for farmers, smallholders, that kind of thing, looking at improving animal welfare and also health and well-being
So it's an alternative, isn't it, to just going straight down the sort of traditional medicine route?
Yeah, it helps that way, and it also helps with injuries and things. So you might have a cow that's gone down, and yes, it does need painkillers because it's got a swelling, but you can then use the massage techniques to improve and speed up recovery times.
So you're working to train farmers to help their own animals?
Yeah, that's basically the plan. Once they've got the skills, they can use them lifelong on any cow, any sheep. There's parts in the course that help with like lambing and calving, and also with lambs and calves if they're born with problems. So it's just looking to improve the productivity and obviously the welfare of the animals.
Which is a great idea, because I think as much as many farmers may think, well, yes, physio might help, but I don't want to pay a physio to come out to my sheep. They can do it themselves.
And the results that we've had have been brilliant basically, and it's using the techniques that you would find on this owner course rather than something more technical that we don't teach, if that makes sense.
And where are you running these courses then?
We're going to run them from the facilities here and also probably from the family farm at Bolton by Bowland as well. But we're also looking for other farms to host them kind of around the country. I'm aiming for the north of England at the moment, but further afield longer term.
And then you've just taken over management here at the Equine Therapy Centre. And it's owned by Stuart and Gail Curry. They have purebred shorthorns and Texels. And then they've handed the reins over to you.
They're just looking to cut back a bit. So they've handed over the reins of the therapy centre to me, but they're still running the farm.
And there's an open day coming up to launch you as the new manager of here at the therapy centre.
We're hoping to run that on the 10th of July, COVID permitting. So it should be a really good day. We've got hourly swims from 11 till 3. The open day is 10 till 4. And then we've also got therapists that have been trained by the Equine Massage Academy, and the owner, Angela Hall. They're all coming over to do demonstrations in between the swimming demos throughout the day and answer any questions on both the owner courses and the practitioner courses that they run, give advice to horse owners, just kind of generally be around to help with any queries anyone's got from the therapy point of view. And myself, Gail and Stuart will be on hand for any hydrotherapy queries or any questions about booking and things like that.
Diane Cornthwaite of Pendle Animal Therapies and Northern Equine Therapy Centre. To find out more about the services Diane and her team can offer, head to www.pendleanimaltherapies.com. Coming up, we're hot to trot. First though, this glorious weather we've enjoyed of late has brought with it a burning desire to cool off for many by taking a refreshing dip in local rivers. A stretch of the River Wharfe in Ilkley was recently awarded keynote bathing status after a major clean-up campaign. Sam Bradley of the NFU in Skipton caught up with NFU Senior Environment and Land Use Advisor James Copland.
The bathing water on the River Wharfe, this is the first inland bathing water in the country, and this followed the pressure from a campaign group who had concerns to do with the water quality in and around Ilkley. As part of that, there is a mechanism by which you can present evidence to DEFRA and the government to demonstrate that it's a bathing water, that people go and use it for bathing. And following that, it then enters into a process of monitoring. And as part of that monitoring, if there's found to be a problem, then there's mechanisms within there to address those sources of pollution. The bathing water is very much looking at fecal contaminants, so that's looking at fecal contaminants from sewage, but also from agricultural sources, so predominantly point source material coming from livestock sheds, but can on occasion come from fields as well.
There was a test carried out by an amalgamation of community environment groups. What were the results of that?
Now we have got this designation in place, there are two types of testing that's going on. There is the official statutory testing being undertaken by the Environment Agency. That first samples were taken on the 11th of May this year, and those samples are taken from the 1st of May to the 31st of September. That's within the bathing season. Now, the first result that came back was excellent quality from the water there. Now, I think there's been quite a bit of media about that because the actual monitoring point that's been used is where most bathers are. And that's actually upstream of one of the believed to be major sources of pollution, which is the sewage network. In addition to that, there's a group called Wharfe, which is a group of citizen science who are undertaking monitoring themselves. Now, they're covering the entire wharf from source to sea. The Environment Agency, along with others, have given them some funding to go and do some monitoring themselves of the River Wharfe. Early indications again there are showing that agriculture has a very low amount of contributions to the water network, and quite a lot of the main focus is upon the sewage treatment works.
Are there any implications going forward? Is this something in the Upper Wharfe catchment that we need to be worrying about seriously?
It's a very important designation. As I say, this is the first designation in England. There's a significant amount of media and political interest in the results of this. And as a result, the Environment Agency are undertaking a lot of work. We know that there are a significant amount of discharge points upstream of this monitoring point. There's numerous septic tank discharge points, and we know the Environment Agency will be contacting those people to just remind them of their duty of care. So if any farmers have septic tanks or other sources that they know is going into the water environment, they need to be mindful of their duty of care, and members can contact the NFU Colfest team for further advice on that. We know that there are well over 100 farming businesses upstream as well. And one of the areas that the Environment Agency are going to be focusing upon is compliance with the slurry and agricultural fuel oil regulations, SAFER. So that's making sure your stores and other infrastructure is up to spec. And the piece of legislation called the Farming Rules for Water. This is an area that is looking at how you handle and store and apply all sorts of materials, from slurries, farm manure to fertiliser to the ground. And obviously with slurries and farm manure being in there, the Environment Agency have indicated they're going to take a particular interest in the Upper Wharfe catchment and the Farming Rules for Water.
Sam Bradley and James Copland. The NFU was sure to be back with more hot topics in future episodes. Now, it's Hellifield harness racing at Peel Park this Sunday 27th. It's great fun, it's exhilarating, it's action-packed. Let's learn the lowdown on harness racing with local beef farmer and committee member Les Fell, who's with CCM's Robin Moule.
Been about a long while as this harness racing. There used to be, years ago, Clapham had them, Ingleton, Hawes, all the local sports had them. Hellifield had him at the time on a little field by the church. Last time I remember him having it there, before it started again. Gargrave Show they used to go to. It's still on at Kilnsey Show. It's been very well supported. It is run. We've given a donation to both the Air Ambulance and Manorlands every year. The track is set up by volunteers, basically harness racing supporters. We have races for maidens, which horses that haven't won. Obviously, novices have won the maiden. And then they go into what we call the handicap. If you have to mix the classes, the class 1s get 10 yards start off the class 2s. And then the class 2s get 10 yards off the class 3s. So you can run 1s, 2s and 3s together. But the 3s have to trail 20 yards behind the 1s.
And what makes these horses different from your normal race horses?
The pacing horses have a gait of their own. They go with both side legs forward at once and both sides back. The legs are controlled by something called hobbles, which is a harness but holds the legs together, so that when they go forward together they go backwards, the other side goes backwards.
Okay, well, I've been to Hellifield harness racing many times, and it's always been a very enjoyable day out. You've got catering facilities, a bar, and even bookmakers for those that might fancy a bit of a flutter. So, thanks again.
Robin Moule and Les Fell there. The first race this Sunday is at 2 p.m. Check out Hellifield Harness Racing on Facebook to find out more. If you're enjoying the Farming Country podcast and you'd like to feature in a future episode, please email or give us a call. All the details can be found online at ccmauctions.com. That's all for today. Our next episode will be available from Friday the 16th of July. But don't forget the opening sale of store lambs at Craven Cattle Mart Skipton on Wednesday the 14th of July. Always a main event in the Northern Sheep Sales calendar, and the entry book is now open. Please phone the office or speak to any of our auctioneers for more details. From me and the Farming Country podcast team, thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.